Let's go.
Yo, 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 yo.
Welcome to Only Football. I'm Rick, and that's Kyle.
I'm Kyle, and that's Rick.
I thought if I did it backwards, I could get you. I've been planning this for a couple of weeks now. We're
Careful
in free
planning by
agency.
Kyle.
Yep, and it didn't work though. You still somehow found a way to do it backwards. Welcome to free agency 2023. Now, I don't know who your team is, but if you're in the top 10 of salary cap space, you've probably seen your team make some moves, unless you're a Bears fan, right? Because the Bears have inquired on some people, but apparently they were also trying to get the offense of right tackle that the Broncos ended up getting. They were in a bidding war with the Broncos on that. But the Bears kind of keeping their money in their pockets. It's not burning a hole. They're going to spend it when the time is right. And I bring that up because you're a Bears fan and I'm a Broncos fan, but there's much more to cover around the league. So let's break it down. It's been a very, very busy day one in the NFL.
Yes.
Would you say that?
Dude, this is the one thing that I love about free agency and the start of the new year is the new NFL year is in a couple days, but I love being at work, not being by my phone. I don't love that. But first of all, what I do love is the feeling of getting back to my phone and just seeing all the news, breaking news. This person signed, this person signed, this person signed. And I'm just like, this is insane. This is exactly what we NFL fans, me, Kyle and I, this is what we live for. We love seeing all this breaking news, all this new players going to new teams. It's almost like it almost, and it's not even us getting these deals or us being these players, but it's like, wow, that person's getting a fresh start. That must be cool. Or, just being able to see new faces and new uniforms next season. But it's been a crazy day, like you said. Do you want to start with like one of the biggest signings, quarterback wise? If we want to talk about that, absolutely.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes. Let's get straight to the protein. The Raiders have signed Jimmy Garoppolo, Johnny G, as Kyle likes to call him.
Let it go.
To a 3-year, $67.5 million deal, including $34 million guaranteed. Now, that's basically half of the money guaranteed to Jimmy G. I'm not sure exactly what he gets his first year or whatever, but it was kind of speculated that Jimmy G was going to go to either the Raiders or I forgot what other team was speculated, but the Raiders were the clear front runners.
I think.
Tampa. And the reason the Raiders were the front runners is because they're going to, match him up with the head coach again. What's his name? What I'm talking about.
Bowles?
No. In Las Vegas.
Your Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels. That was why they were kind of the front runners of this of Jimmy G. So what did you think? Because I think this is kind of like the perfect move. They did well in New England together. They were able to have some success. Obviously, Jimmy G went on to San Francisco and whatnot, and had some success there. Went to a Super Bowl. But what do you think about this move of Jimmy G to Las Vegas?
Well, I think that there's a lot of dynamics to it. I think if you're a Raiders fan, I don't love it. And especially when you talk about Josh McDaniels, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. The success that he's had as a Patriot. Okay. Josh McDaniels has yet to prove himself as a head coach. So if you're going to look at any type of success, I don't care if it's Matt Castle, Jimmy Garoppolo, anybody that has worn a Patriot jersey, how can I credit Josh McDaniels for the success if he has yet to prove that he can have that same success as a head coach? Is it a product of the system? Belichick, the defense? Why is it that Josh McDaniels hasn't been able to emulate what has been taught to him by his? Because when you think about it, Josh McDaniels literally should be like the Karate Kid. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the master has taught me everything, and now I'm going to, I'm gonna be too dangerous for the master, and
Yeah.
and it's like not like that at all. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you traded Derek Carr for Jimmy Garoppolo, and you're like happy about this? Like, why? Jimmy
Yeah.
Garoppolo, at least Derek Carr could stay healthy. Like Jimmy Garoppolo, you
Hmm.
literally don't even know if you're going to get him. I feel like we do this every year, and it's
Yeah.
terrible. But injuries are part of football, and it's about time I'd stop saying maybe and if and when. And I'm just gonna Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get hurt this year. He gets hurt every single year, and every
Yep.
single year I say he may get hurt. No, it's like pretty sure thing, right?
Yeah.
So look, that's part one. Part two is Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if Jimmy Garoppolo was the guy they wanted,
Hmm.
uh, well, I'm just not buying it. I feel
Hmm.
like they ran out of options. Derek Carr, they sent running,
Yep.
and then let's say Tom Brady retired, and then
Hmm.
Aaron Rodgers, the Jets flew out to him,
Yep.
and also they said they wanted a guy that's going to be there for a long time. So that kind of ruled out any veterans,
Hmm.
and they don't have a crazy good draft spot. And even if they did, it's hard to believe that any of those rookies, even the best one, would be better than Derek Carr. Derek
Yeah.
Carr
Yeah.
was, no scrub in his own right. And so to me, it just felt like they got to a point where they ran out of options. They didn't want to totally fumble. So they signed a guy that they could always use the story that they're familiar with each other.
Hmm.
And look, I just don't think the Raiders got better today, to be
Yeah.
honest.
And Eric here, by the way, cheers, Eric. Thank you for being in the comments. Cheers. He's saying the same thing. The Raiders are going to be bad because of the head coach. Until he leaves, the Raiders will have success. And the shitty thing is that had they not hired McDaniels and kept Derek Carr and maybe had gotten, I don't know, a Bieniemy last year, a even an Eberflus or someone in there instead of McDaniels, they would probably be way better off even last year, right? The year before they had made the playoffs. Even if they had hired Bisaccia back, right? The guy who
Yeah.
led them to the playoffs after Gruden got pretty much was like, yeah, dude, you're racist. Get out of here. They probably would have been way better off. So I agree with you in the sense that Josh McDaniels not the guy. I just think that one of the things that Jimmy G does is he wins somehow. And I mean, you've got Devontae Adams, and he don't get me wrong, he had like a plethora of talent in San Francisco, right? Like he had tons of guys to throw it to. Devontae Adams, Waller. He's gonna have Josh Jacobs. So he's gonna have some talent there. But I think it's a good move. I don't know if I agree with the Raiders are going to be bad. I don't think they'll sniff second in the division. I think they'll be third, but I think they might have like a, I don't know, 8-9, 9-8 record, while the top two spots in the division are in double digit wins. You know what I mean? So
I'd say
I don't think, yeah, I think they get better than last year, but I don't think it's going to be playoff worthy.
they're 7-10 football
You think
team.
7-10? All right, I can
Yeah.
get jiggy with that. I can get jiggy with that.
They're not like gonna, you know, be up for the first round pick of the
Mm-hmm.
2024 draft, but
No, yeah.
it doesn't matter. I mean, your goal is to at least make the playoffs. So 7-10 in the division with Kansas City
Mm-hmm.
and the Chargers, who have a top 5 quarterback in Justin Herbert, and then the Broncos, who have made a move for Sean Payton with a strong defense. You got to keep up now. And
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't make sense because Josh McDaniels, when he was going through this whole thing with Derek Carr, I thought to myself, okay, well, whoever he's after must play a totally different type of football. Like when Sean McVay was like, I need Matthew Stafford and not Jared Goff. And Jared Goff has actually proven to be, I would probably rather last year, Stafford
Yeah.
couldn't stay healthy. But even so, even if he was healthy, not many quarterbacks had a better year than Jared Goff. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was weird that Jimmy Garoppolo comes. Like, that's the replacement. So that's the type of football that you think Derek Carr wasn't capable of playing. The dinking, just kind of managing the football
Mm-hmm.
game making the reads, trusting the play, not really extending anything, just, doing your job and nothing more, nothing less. Like Derek Carr couldn't do that. I,
Yeah, honestly.
to me, like if you brought in like Tua or, made a move
Mm-hmm.
for Lamar Jackson, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
they had something up their sleeve. They want to run Wildcat or something. They want to
Yeah.
be run heavy. They want to do what Philly's doing with Jalen Hurts. And then it's like
Mm-hmm.
they bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's like, you wanted to manage a football game? Like that's the reason you got rid of Derek Carr? That doesn't make any sense to me. So
Yeah.
I really, because of that, man, I think that this was not actually something that this was always plan B. And it got to a
Mm-hmm.
point where they were like, let's pull the trigger now before one of these other teams
Yeah.
makes a move for Jimmy Garoppolo. And then we have a real problem. I wouldn't be surprised right now if, even with the Jimmy Garoppolo, they are using him as a bridge quarterback to figure out who it's going to be long term. But they just didn't want to suck while they figured it out. So they got Jimmy Garoppolo at a $70 million price. Isn't crazy expensive. I mean, that is I would say, a realistic, number for what I think Jimmy Garoppolo is worth. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not worth backup money, but he's not worth 40 million a year either. So I would probably do that, about that amount, and then have a lot of incentives based on the amount of games that he plays. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know if it really adds up to a lot of people, but the fact that Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo have played together, I feel like is kind of, keeping that kind of noise down to a minimum, because people can always fall back on that,
Yeah.
you know.
And real quick, we got Steve in the chat. Steve, cheers. What's going
Steve.
on, man? Yeah, and the Raiders picked 7th in round 1 this year, so I don't know. The quarterbacks might be gone by then, but maybe they take a shot at Will Levis, maybe Max Duggan. Like Max Duggan is probably not a first round talent at all, but if they're trying to do that bridge quarterback, Levis, Richardson, who's available at 7? Do we even go at quarterback, or do we wait for 2nd, 3rd, 4th round to get some guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, right? So
Yeah.
moving on to the other ones. So I've got the Broncos here. The Broncos made some good moves. By the way, you took the Bears right tackle. Mike
Yeah.
McGlinchey signed with the Broncos, as well as a guard, Ben Powers, signed with the Broncos. I didn't know you guys needed that much O-line help.
Yeah, we did.
Was it bad?
Well, like Russell Wilson was, I think, tied for the most sacked quarterback last year, and a lot of the bad QB play was on Russell Wilson. But there was a so it's hard to even put into words how important an O-line is. And until you've had a team with a dismantled O-line, it'll always be something that is easily taken for granted. Like nobody's like wanting to use their draft picks on an offensive lineman. You want the fast guy, you want the best quarterback. You don't want to hear, with the 3rd overall pick, select right tackle. It's like, oh, cool. But I'm telling you, go through 1 year with just bad offensive line, and you'll change your mind completely, because the problem was no plays had any time to actually, evolve. It was like you snap the ball, you make your first read, and then the pressure's there. You get rid of the ball, you tuck it, or you extend the ball. Now you're running out. You're trying to do something with your legs. You're trying to, make, and it's just, you need an offensive line. And look at the teams that were really good last year. The 49ers, great O-line. Philly, great O-line. Even Kansas City, fantastic O-line last year. I mean, not a coincidence. You need a strong O-line to set the edge. So pass rushers are becoming an ever more growing part of a team's need. Everybody wants one dynamic pass rusher. So you need one there. And you also need it for the run game. I mean, it's just very, very important. And we drafted Garrett Bowles, and we got him like 5 years ago, and he was a total disaster, man. I mean, he was every time there was a penalty on the ground, every Broncos fan knew it was on 72 and it was holding. It was so bad, man. It was so bad. And then he was always
Oh,
kind of
man.
like, and
What'd I
then you
do?
watch the replay and he like slings someone down.
Yeah.
And then in year 4, they declined his 5th-year option. And then year 4, he made this jump that nobody, Mike Munchak, one of the best offensive line coaches in the league, he transformed Garrett Bowles, and he had the highest grade of a like a right tackle or whatever. And the rest of the line is very questionable. We got Graham Glasgow from the Lions, who he just signed with someone else, but he was always hurt. We went for what is the guy? He just signed with somebody else. Who is it? Is it in here? Gosh, I'm drawing a blank. It starts with a J.
Jawan
Johnson. Jawan Johnson. We signed him to a huge deal, man. And then he got hurt he got hurt or something, didn't play. We gave him like $80 million of guaranteed money. It was insane. He didn't play the whole first year. And then the second year, he was training at an off facility because of COVID. And then he got hurt again and didn't play the whole next year. And then I think the year after that, he opted not to play because of COVID. And we were just at a point where we were like, dude, like, we made a bad deal. We haven't seen this guy play more than 7 snaps in almost 3 years, and we're paying him $80 million. Get rid of him. So and then Dalton Reisner is the other guy. I have his autograph. Big fan, great guy. Walter Payton, Man of the Year, but just not great. You know what I mean? He was really good with run blocking, but pass blocking, no, not just so trash. Great. Just not good. And then we drafted one of my favorite guys, Lloyd Cushenberry, because of his last name. I like him. He was the center at LSU, and he was the highest like graded center. And we got him, I think, in the 3rd round. He was still available, and it was a steal. But he never actually developed into being anything either. So there's just a lot of holes on that offensive line, and Sean Payton wasn't messing around. He was like, we are not. I mean, you got a coach that understands without an offensive line, you have nothing. And the best coaches understand that, and they address it immediately. He always had a good offensive line in New Orleans, and he's willing to spend big money on those guys. And I respect them for it. I know it's tempting when you're a new coach to make some kind of move for DeAndre Hopkins or Jalen Ramsey or somebody that's going to be like, damn, Sean Payton has made his mark. But no, we're going to go get 2 offensive linemen, and we're going to put a car outside the facility with no rear view mirrors to resemble that we're not looking backwards anymore. That's Sean Payton.
I love that. That was a nice little ending to that. And it's true, right? Like Fields and Wilson were the 2 most sacked quarterbacks. Again, I think we made a joke about that. How, of course, you and I start a podcast, a Bears and a Broncos fan start a podcast, and then that season, our 2 quarterbacks are the most sacked. It's hilarious. So I mean, you guys got a good one in McGlinchey, and then Ben Powers was someone who really did improve in Baltimore. So you got 2 really good linemen there. I'm kind of jealous, but so good on the Broncos, and like you said, good on God damn it, why am I so bad with names? Your coach on
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton. I was like Sean McVay.
Sean Papa. Starts with the P.
Good job on him to realize that you guys are weak here, so we need people here. Let's move on to the 49ers because...
Wait, you don't talk about the Broncos for the remaining hour, what? 40 minutes?
No, not really. I wasn't expecting...
All right, we'll push.
And Steve goes, you ain't been sacked too many times this season unless you were David Carr in Houston, just saying. Oh, God, that first year in Houston must have been rough. But yes, definitely a throwback. Let's move on to the 49ers because the 49ers made a huge splash on the defensive end and a pretty solid backup quarterback. So we'll start with the defense. They signed Javon Hargrave to a 4-year, $84 million deal. $40 million of those dollars are guaranteed. Javon Hargrave was a force in Philly, and he has been a force in Philly for the years that he's been with them. So you pair him up with the Bosa brother on the end there, and an already maybe what were they? They were number one defense, weren't they last year?
Yeah.
You put Hargrave on the number one defense, your defense is just going to improve, right? Depending on who you lose and injuries and stuff, right? Because
there should be laws against what they're doing.
Honestly, it's like the way they're going to commit murder next year to quarterbacks. But they improved on the defense with Javon Hargrave, and then they add Sam Darnold, which we didn't really expect. They added Sam Darnold as a backup quarterback because you still have you still got Brock Purdy there, expected to possibly start, or Trey Lance. You know, it depends what direction do they want to go. So what do you think about these moves? I think their defense just got better, and Sam Darnold, he has a home now, and it's in California.
Yeah, definitely probably better than being in North Carolina. Actually, North Carolina is really beautiful if you've ever been. But, okay, so have you ever seen Pursuit of Happiness when he's in the job interview and he's like, I'm the kind of guy where if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer. But I bet you what? I do know where to find the answer, and I will find the answer. I'm the kind of guy where if I don't know who a player is, I'll just tell you. I don't know who he is. And I understand we have a podcast and a responsibility to know these players, but Javon Hargrave, not one of the guys that I remembered out of Philly, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I understand when you're on a team that's loaded with talent, it's hard to keep track of all the playmakers. Like, I remember our defense in 2015 that was insane. I would be like, oh, this guy was a huge part of the defense. People would be like, who's that? Malik Reed? I don't remember that guy, or it's like, and it's like, oh man, these little warriors that you don't notice because they're not getting all the attention, but you look on the film and you see it's like they're the reason a lot of the good things are happening. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised that I'm not too familiar with him with the kind of defense Philly had. So I do think the 49ers, if there's one thing, I believe that they know how to bring in the right people and they know when to let people go. When it comes to the business side of it, John Lynch is one of the best general managers in the game. And I know he hasn't been doing this a long time, but every year the 49ers are competitive, and that goes from owner, GM, head coach. The fact that you can plug and play Brock Purdy and be better, there's just so much, man, to really be happy about for a long time. And the 49ers, it feels like they never pay people too much money, but then they also never let themselves get into a rebuild. They stay in the zone where it's like, it's very give and take. They're going to give an offensive line piece, but then in the same day, they're going to bring in a defensive player. They're never just like reloading, as they like to call it. They're always just going like 1 for 1, 2 for 2.
Yeah, kind of staying level with like where they were last season almost.
Yeah, totally. And now how is their defense going to be without DeMeco Ryans? That's something to follow and see. But dude, I think they're going to be just fine. When you think about it, they got Christian McCaffrey completely free. I mean, he was free because the little bit they did have to give for him, they got back in compensatory picks. They got those picks back. So they literally got CMC for free. So it's that is like an insane thing to think about, right? But those are things for, teams that lose their defensive or offensive coordinators to other teams getting a head coaching job. I think also there's incentive to hire African-American coaches because I think you get compensatory picks as well. So the Texans, I think, can get some too, because unfortunately that's what they have to do to, try to give people,
I know, right?
Initiative to sign people. But the point is the 49ers have more than a shit ton. I don't even know. They got like 7
a
picks.
metric shit ton.
Yeah, like there was a night where I looked at my phone and I read this article. I read it like 5 times to see, are they saying 7th round pick? And it was like 7 picks. It was like that crazy. I'm like, dude, that is a lot of picks. That's like an entire draft on top of a team
You're
that
already picks, yeah.
is already drafting, and on top of that, a team that could have went to the Super Bowl. So the
Hmm.
49ers are going to be good again. I'll just put it that way. And I think the 49ers are definitely going to, that division belongs to the 49ers for
Yeah,
sure.
no, definitely, and I agree with what you said. They give a little, they take a little bit, and they're still very good team. Like no, like on both sides, right? Um, really quick, Jameis Winston signed a 1 year, $4 million deal with the Saints, so he's back with the Saints. Um, unfortunately, we gotta eat these dubs. We gotta eat these dubs. The
Crab legs.
Seahawks have taken Draymond Jones from the Broncos. Unfortunately,
Yep.
3 year
It's all
deal with
right.
the Seahawks, and yeah, and then we'll move on. So I just had those kind of those just kind of came in on my timeline
Draymond
here.
Jones was our guy that people are saying, are they going to tag him? He was, I think, number 3 on
Mm-hmm.
the NFL's best free agents available. And
Mm.
the thing is I don't know why everyone's hyping him up. He was not that great. Like, he was a pretty good
Really?
pass rusher, but his PFF grade on the season was like 67. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was not he's not worth the money that he wanted, to be completely honest. So
Yeah.
I like to see the right people get re-signed, and I hate to see the wrong people get re-signed. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the guy to give a boatload of money to, but I'm glad he got his opportunity to keep playing, you know?
Yeah. And I have to agree with Steve here. I was also kind of surprised Darnold signed with the Niners, but hey,
Yeah, that's
they
crazy.
yeah, they want a veteran backup, right? So why not? Why not get Darnold? Um, next up, we actually have a trade here. The New England Patriots traded tight end Jonnu Smith to the Falcons for a 2023 7th round pick. So I don't. I guess Jonnu Smith to Atlanta. I mean, you got the tight end that they just drafted last year there. I guess the Patriots are just wanting some draft capital. I
Yeah.
don't really understand this move, but hey, Jonnu, I mean, that's a big target. He did pretty well for the Patriots last season. Um, but I mean, if you've got the tight end that they got last year in the first round there for Atlanta, I mean, hey, why not? Why not add to your tight ends? Why not add to your weapons, right? So that
Yeah.
was one of the trades during this NFL free agency day. Next up, the Chargers. This one's actually not a signing, but Austin Eckler requesting permission to speak with other teams about a potential trade. So Austin Eckler, one of the better running backs in the league. I think he was probably one of the top 5 fantasy backs last year. He does not want to be in LA anymore. He doesn't want to be a Charger. Do you think they give him permission to talk to other teams? Do you think they trade him before the beginning of next season?
Um, it depends. It depends how much money he's asking for.
Mm-hmm.
So he you did mention, right, that he asked his agent for a specific number, and the Chargers
Okay.
weren't willing to give it to him. So
Mm-hmm.
then he said, "Okay, can I talk to other teams?" So that request to, like, Austin Eckler is a good running back. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the reason they got rid of Melvin Gordon, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was the Tony Pollard to Ezekiel Elliott, and he's been great, and he's been consistent. And when that whole team was injured, he seemed to be the one guy that suited up every game. He's reliable, but
Mm-hmm.
you understand it, and we said it a million times. Running backs don't get paid like that.
Nope.
Like, running backs are disposable, and it's a really important position, and it's a shame. I think there's only an exception of people that can get a second contract,
Mm-hmm.
and weirdly enough, I think that I think Austin Eckler is in that group of people that you could pay, right? So to me, I would probably pay him if I were the Chargers, because
Yeah.
you don't you don't really have any room to get worse. You are already under a lot of scrutiny that you have a top 5 quarterback who's the first guy to throw for like 4,000 yards in 3 straight seasons, um, and break all these records. And what do you have to show for it? And
Mm-hmm.
you just can't. I feel like you can't get rid of him. And maybe I would get rid of Mike Williams before I would get rid of Austin Eckler.
What?
So
No way. Really?
absolutely, dude, they're always hurt. Mike
Yeah.
Williams is hurt a lot. Like, you got to keep
Remember
your
when Mike
guys.
Williams came back and then got hurt in the same game?
Yeah, you see,
Yeah.
dude, it's just they have a lot of injury problems. If he gets traded, it's not going to be in division though. It wouldn't be to the Broncos, Chargers, or Chiefs.
No.
And there are some teams in the division that I think you could make an argument besides the Raiders that every team, so just the other two, the Broncos and the Chiefs, both. I mean, could you imagine Pacheco with Austin Eckler? You know what I mean?
Oh
That
my
would be
God.
that would
That'd
be
be
dynamic.
insane.
Or
That would
even
be
Green
insane.
Bay.
Yeah.
Green Bay with Aaron Jones but they also have the big physical running back Dillon, AJ Dillon.
AJ Dillon, yeah.
So I mean they're set, but what about like the Raiders? You know, the Ravens. The Ravens getting a guy like
and they
that.
just restructured a deal I think with Gus Edwards
Yeah.
recently. So yeah, I mean, why not, right? Like, why not? If you've already, got Lamar locked down in a sense, which we'll get to later, why not get a guy like Austin Eckler or something like that, right?
I feel like they need something, man. They need something that is like gonna just take them over the top.
And Austin Eckler is a great pass catcher too. So
yeah,
you add a receiver in a sense too, right? Like
you're totally right about that.
Yeah. And we got CP in the chat. CP, cheers.
What up?
Appreciate you coming on. He disagrees with you. He says, no way. Mike Will is the real deal. Chargers can find another Austin Eckler.
Oof.
And but you just said it though. You just said that running backs are, and we've said it on this podcast plenty of times. They're a dime a dozen. If Austin Eckler replaced Melvin Gordon, who replaced, I forget, was it LT? No, that was way after,
there's a gap. Yeah,
there's a gap between there.
I think Darren Sproles was even there after.
Maybe. Like the Bears have done that time after time after time again. We always have a good running back. I might have to agree with CP here. I think that's why I was like, no way you get rid of Mike Williams. A receiver like that, you've got to keep.
Draft one in the first round. Get a young guy that is going to stay healthy.
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather know that you're going to get a serviceable running back than a lottery type of wide receiver? Because let's be honest, like we said, let's be honest, right? Running backs usually hit every time. If you put your money on running back, it usually hits 90% of the time, let's say, right? But wide receivers are kind of tough to come by, I would say.
Well, the Charger, I think it depends when you're drafting them. So the Chargers pick at 21. Mm-hmm. So obviously you got a lot of quarterbacks coming off. And in the mock drafts, you have an edge rusher from Georgia going. So you look down the list, and then you got maybe the best running back at Texas coming out at 7. Quarterback. Bijan Robinson.
Oh,
he ran a really fast 42.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go all the way to 10, and that's when the first wide receiver is projected to go. But they're usually not too off on the wide receiver. But even if you get to 21 and Zay Flowers, or so, you know what I'm saying, is like the gamble you take on drafting a receiver, I think is a lot different when you get one with the first round almost in the top 20 than when you're like look at the first round wide receivers in recent history. These receivers at SEC teams are literally like quarterback ready when they're coming out. You had CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, the guy that's in New Orleans that do you remember the guy they added in New Orleans? He was really good this year. I think he was at Ohio State.
The wide receiver?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Chris Olave.
Chris Olave.
Yeah. Somehow I can remember the names you don't remember. But
and I remember the ones you don't. I know. But I just think wide receivers are coming out, really even since Odell Beckham came out of LSU, like the Justin Jefferson, like these Cincinnati with Chase, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. These receivers are coming out and they're ready to go. They're ready to play a full season. You get these third round KJ Hamlers and and they're, maybe just a speed threat and they play 30% of the offense. But these guys at the top are ready to go. And I would rather keep Austin Eckler, get a top receiver, and let Mike Williams walk than keep Mike and lose Austin Eckler, who was literally the entire offense of the Chargers. Justin
Right.
Herbert got that rib injury against the Chiefs week 2. He wasn't able to throw the ball more than 15 yards for like 4 or 5 weeks. All he was doing was dumping it off to Austin Eckler, and he single-handedly is the reason the Chargers went to the playoffs last year. So there's no way that he's, getting towards the end and not worth paying, in my opinion.
So the one last point, and CP actually makes this point, and I have to agree with him. He says you can make the argument that Mike Williams is surpassing Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is getting into his 30s now. As long as you have an okay O-line, and a lot of running backs can succeed. We saw it last year with Foreman from the Panthers, Hillard with the Titans when Henry went down. I like that point because
it's a good point.
We did see that for the Panthers, right? Like Deontay Foreman was like a monster out of nowhere. Remember when they got rid of CMC and we're like, well, the Panthers are fucking mailing it in. But Deontay Foreman was able to emerge from that. But
I had that other guy too, right?
I forget his name though. It was Deontay Foreman and someone else.
He was there last year, and he was really good when.
Yeah.
But I you know how the quarterbacks that are really good, their backups always tend to be good, right? I think the same things for offense, or running backs. Think about when Dalvin Cook got hurt. This Madison, I think Anthony Madison came out and did really good. CMC gets hurt. Hubbard. His backups. Oh yeah, thank you, Hubbard.
CJ Hubbard, yeah.
CJ Hubbard is really good. Tony Pollard,
Chuba Hubbard,
to Ezekiel Elliott.
Such a dumbass.
I think that when you have like an elite running back, those guys that are behind in the depth chart, they become pretty good running backs. Or it's that the reason they're really good is because the O-line and any running back would succeed in that offensive line, as Corey brought up, which is a really solid point. And I agree with that. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. You could say keep Mike Williams and get rid of Keenan Allen, but the duo of them, do you think that is as important as keeping Austin Eckler? Now, if you would have not had this whole conversation right off the bat, what's your first impulse? Like you got to either keep Mike Williams or Austin Eckler, or keep Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
I'm keeping Williams, dude. I'm keeping Williams. Honestly,
Williams?
Wide receivers are tough.
And you and Corey.
I would know that because I'm a Bears fan. You don't know that because you've had pretty damn good wide receivers these last couple of years. I would know that because I'm a Bears fan. If you told me, hey, do you want to, let's say before last season, right? Do you want to trade David Montgomery for even Keenan Allen? Right? Keenan Allen was still having a good year. He was maybe 29, 30, whatever he was last season. I would be like, yes, because right now our number one is a very undersized Darnell Mooney, who's more of our long threat, right?
Yeah, he'll be a number 2.
Yeah, who else do we have? Dante Pettis, Equanimous St. Brown, Velus Jones, who's a rookie. Dude, give me Keenan Allen all day, and you can keep your Mike Williams. I wouldn't even care because Khalil Herbert, who is in his second year with the Bears, or was his rookie year last year, can probably maintain the rushing attack for this offense. So honestly, if you ask me, I'm taking Mike Williams, man. I'm letting Eckler walk.
But the one thing that hasn't been addressed yet is that Herbert is a top 5 QB. So there's a wide receiver that pretty much, I believe, any receiver could come in. Herbert would make him good. Look at Patrick Mahomes, right? They don't pay like Tyreek Hill, let him walk. We'll make anybody great. Not everybody can do that, but I do think Justin Herbert in the top 5, they can bring in almost anybody and get production out of them because Justin Herbert is that dude. So that is kind of the one thing that we haven't brought up in this discussion.
Yeah,
is that Justin Herbert, it does have the ability to make these receivers better, whereas the running back doesn't necessarily, I wouldn't say benefit, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? From Justin Herbert's success.
Sure. I would agree with that. Now let's move on from the Chargers. That was a nice little debate. I like that.
Our demon of the week.
Kyle and Rick. Oh, only the OGs know that. Let's move on to my Bears because they made 3 very good signings today. So first one, they got a guard, Nate Davis. He was from the Titans. He got a 3-year deal. I forget the amount of money exactly, but we lost out on McGlinchey. We lost out on Juwan Johnson as well. So we got Nate Davis from the Titans. He was pretty solid with the Titans. I was looking up his stats. I forget them because they escape me right now, of course, of all times, right? But we signed the guard. Depending on whether Tevin Jenkins wants to stay at right or go back to left guard, it will depend where Nate Davis goes. So we've got good options there. The next one they made was a linebacker to really elevate that linebacking core. They signed TJ Edwards from Philadelphia, 3-year deal worth $19.5 million. $12 million of that is guaranteed, and he's come from Philly. He's 26 years old, I believe, so still really young. Has done really well. I think he had 99 solo tackles, 1 or 2 sacks last year. Not really a someone who is going to get to the quarterback, but really makes up for that Roquan Smith trade that the Bears did last season. And the best one of them all so far, well, maybe the second best, because we'll talk about what the Bears did last week a little later. Tremaine Edmonds from the Bills, 24 years old, 4-year deal, $72 million, $50 million guaranteed. Tremaine Edmonds was the 16th overall pick in the 2018 draft and has been a pretty damn good linebacker for the Bills. I mean, he was captain last year. He did miss some games because of injury last year, but what he's done in the past has been great. And if you're a Bears fan, you're listening to this and you've seen what the Bears have done, you know that they needed to bolster that defense, whether it was in free agency, whether it's in the draft, which I still think they have a good shot to get Jalen Carter in the draft, depending on a lot of things. But to add these 2 guys at linebacker when you needed to really upgrade that front 7, like these are good signings right here, man. This reminds me of 2018 when they got Khalil Mack, Robinson, Trey Burton, a lot of these guys during free agency that really elevated that team and made the team better that year. I think I saw something where the NFL ranked the 2018 Bears defense as the second one of that decade, Denver Broncos being number 1. So we really have our highs and we really have our lows as Bears and Broncos fans.
Yeah, dude. I think this is really cool because you have, like, if you break it into tiers, you have teams like the Dolphins last year that feel like they are just a couple pieces away. So they go and get Bradley Chubb from Denver, and then you see the Jalen Ramsey. We'll talk about that. So there's that tier where it's like, we just need one more to take. The Rams were there 2 years ago. And then you have this other tier that's trying to get to that tier. And I think the Bears, look, they're not breaking the bank. The deal with Nate Davis, $11 million. And Nate Davis out of Tennessee, if you look at the Titans wire, it's just a bunch of people that are super, super upset about it. He's really not worth $11 million to the Titans. I hate this. Rand is really losing me right now, the general manager. So what you're doing though is you're not getting the piece. You're getting pieces. You're getting this guy for $10 million. We'll take this guy for 11. Your linebacker that you just signed from Buffalo, like, this makes sense, right? $45-50 million guaranteed. Roquan Smith, it was $100 million guaranteed.
Exactly.
So you're saving $50 million. What did you do with that $50 million? You just got all of these, all these dudes. So what you haven't done yet is you haven't broken the bank, which means you're still leaving the money in the bank. So when you do go up to that tier where the Dolphins were, then you can get that dude, that 1 or 2 guys that you feel like will take you over to the top. But that's not what this season is about. You're the first overall pick. You got to get here. And once you get here, then, you know what I mean, you're going to move up. But I think what they're doing right now is setting themselves up to actually contend long-term. Nothing quick. They're not buying a championship. They're building it from the ground up. And I think it's working out. They got a lot of problems in the last, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
3 to let's say 4 years. They haven't
Mm-hmm.
really been the Bears,
Yeah.
contending. And I really think things are looking up right now for Chicago.
Yeah, and CP agrees. I'm glad they didn't pay Roquan. And looking at this in hindsight, right? Hindsight's 2020.
Right.
We just got Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, two linebackers who will more than make up for the loss of Roquan Smith. And if you pay them their entire salary, what was reported or whatever over these next 7 years, that's still less than what Roquan Smith wanted over a 5 year period. If you combine them, I think that it's a total of like 97 million or something like that. Um, let me just double check. It's about 20 million for Edwards and about 72. That's 92 million dollars for two players who will more than, like I said, more than make up for Roquan Smith. And Roquan wanted 100. He wanted to be the top, the highest paid, the highest paid line off the ball linebacker at 100 million. Like, we just got better and we spent less than that over the next really combined 7 years.
Yeah, and it's like this isn't. I understand as a player when you feel like you have been the reason a
Mm-hmm.
team has had any success and they're not willing to pay you. It's like the one good thing you have, you're not willing to pay. But from
Yeah.
the other side, it's like step into my office, okay?
Yeah.
We literally don't have a team and you want
Mm-hmm.
$100 million. Like, brother,
Yep.
we love you. We really
Mm-hmm.
do. And we thank you for what you did. But go to one of those teams that'll pay you. You understand when you're in a rebuild. I made a podcast like 3 weeks ago, and what I did
Mm-hmm.
was I found the teams in an utter rebuild that had people that they needed to get rid of, and that was before it actually came out on the NFL app. Like
Yeah.
Arizona, why do you have DeAndre Hopkins? We talked about this. Like if
Yep.
you're a really bad team, you don't get to have the fancy car. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not the time or place. You have other needs. Like you would rather have, like you said, those two guys better than Roquan Smith by himself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Roquan's only one dude. And even a dude that's really good, like Von Miller, we had to get rid of him because it was just, we
Yeah.
don't need to overpay for that right now when we can get, three dudes that could definitely even be better than just that one guy. So I think you're approaching this, you're on the board of decisions with the Bears.
I am.
But
What are you talking about? I have the sweater and everything.
I feel like it makes sense for everybody. And
Yeah.
and the Bears, man, they're doing a really good job. They got a new general manager, right?
Yep. They got Ryan Poles before last season. And he's the one that got rid of Khalil Mack. He's the one that got rid of Robert Quinn, Roquan Smith, obviously. So
Just
he was
clean the
cleaning
house.
house, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted, in a sense. Like, yeah, I bought a Mac jersey. I wanted him to stay on the Bears. But, I mean, you
That's
owe
the
that guy a
worst.
ton of fucking money. Yeah, for sure. The Bears also got a DeMarcus Walker, defensive end, 21
Yeah.
million. Yeah.
Marcus
Yeah.
Walker. Dude,
Former Titan.
he former Bronco. We
Oh,
drafted
really?
him. Yeah, not only am I a fan from Broncos, he went to Florida State and he was a beast, dude. He's one of the hardest working dudes that
Yeah.
was on that Florida State defense. He was a freaking monster. We got him
Really?
in the third round, and my
Hmm.
buddy, who's like as diehard Florida State as I am Broncos and you are Bears, he
Yeah.
literally was like, "Mark my words, this is going to be a decision you look back from in like 10 years, and you're like, damn, I got a dude." And I just felt like we never really gave him an opportunity, though. Like
Yeah.
for whatever reason, it was just not happening. So then
Really?
he went to the Titans, and I've been following him,
Hmm.
because I'm a fan, and I didn't see that in the cliff notes here. So, dude, uh,
Just
you
came
guys,
out, actually.
you guys are just making moves right now, and
I'm
those are the
saying,
kind
man.
of guys, man, that
Yeah.
like that's who you can like pay. That's a bargain. You pay for these dudes. No one knows that they're superstars until they all get together, and then
Yep.
everyone finds out. So
Exactly. Exactly. CP goes, Kyle, I just realized you're a Broncos fan. He said, I would say you guys should be excited for this year too. Oh yeah, we've talked about what the Broncos are, potentially going to do this year, and they should definitely be up there.
yeah, I'm wishing in one hand and shitting in the other one. It's like we're
How
beyond.
dare you? You were not like this
No, no,
when you guys got Sean Payton.
no. There's a lot to be excited about, but
Yeah.
just trying to manage my expectations because I
Mhm.
swore we were going to, beat the Chiefs in the AFC West last year. So I've kind of like ashamed of myself on public YouTube platforms. So I just kind of have to take the year off. But I'll let you guys hype them up for me.
Oh, all right. Moving on. The Dolphins took away Mike White from the Jets. They agreed to a 2-year deal worth up to $16 million. They got Mr. Mike
Mr.
White here, Kyle. Check it out. Check it out.
Unlimited. Okay. Is that what he does?
No, that's what I do. I just made that
Oh,
up.
okay. God, you're such a
But
dork.
they realized, I guess the Dolphins realized, they're like, Tua just keeps getting concussed. Let's get some guy who could come in and actually make a decent backup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, look at the playoff game against the Bills. As weird as it sounds, if they would have had any type, I'm not saying I'm drawing a blank because if you would have talked to me 2 weeks ago, I had his name. Who was the quarterback that stepped in for Tua in the playoff game at Buffalo?
Teddy Bridge. Oh,
No,
the XFL guy.
XFL guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I forget him. I forget his name.
Okay, he didn't do like terrible, but he
Mhm.
definitely wasn't. If they would have had just a little bit better play, I'm talking
Yeah.
like the Mike White range,
Yeah.
the even Marcus Mariota maybe. Like I
Mhm.
think they could have won that game. So I think
Oh yeah.
it was kind of an eye opener for everybody. It was like, hey, Tua, the concussions, it's a thing, but let's get ourselves a backup. So next time we actually, we get the dub in
Yeah.
Buffalo instead of just, play a close game. He
It was a
said,
good move.
and Corey, doubting Casey every year. Rick would love that comment because he's like always like people get bored of the success of a team, and I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Kyle's like, shut up! It's the Broncos' year. I don't want to hear it. All right.
It's not boring. It's disgusting. It's different.
And speaking of the Chiefs, again, another name we got wrong. Jawan Taylor reached an agreement on a 4-year, $80 million deal, $60 million guaranteed.
Love to see it for the Chiefs.
With the Chiefs.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. He's not going to play at all, and the Chiefs are going to not have a ton of money. This is great for the Broncos.
Kyle's preying on the Chiefs' downfall with Jawan Taylor. He's like, please do the same thing you did with the Broncos. Please.
Drake's going to make a rap song about how much I'm hating on the Chiefs. It's like preying on my downfall don't make you religious, man. That's an actual quote from Drake, and it applies here.
We have the rights to that song. So they had to bolster their line. I don't know about Orlando Brown. I assume he's not going to make it.
That's what that tells me.
Yeah. Like they were like, you know what? He's going to test free agency. I don't think we have the money to give to him, right? And we'll talk a little bit about the Chiefs later, I believe, because did they place the franchise tag on somebody? Is that the reason they didn't do it to Orlando Brown?
I didn't see anything about that, but I actually had a crazy week, so I'll let you look up. So Orlando Brown, dude, he's asking for money that is going to break the market. So
yeah, that's true.
I'm telling you, the Chiefs aren't in the business of breaking markets for anybody besides when they did it for Patrick Mahomes 3 years ago, which actually ended up being a pretty reasonable amount of money for the best quarterback in the world, who may go down as the greatest of all time when it's all said and done. What has he got? He's got 2 Super Bowls, and at this rate, I could see him getting to 7. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, part of that is just not breaking the market for anybody. Not Tyreek Hill, not Orlando Brown, not, name it. It's just, we'll just get another guy that, and honestly, this isn't cheap. $80 million,
no.
$60 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Jawan Taylor has not been worth that kind of money, but they believe in him. I find it weird because in one argument, I'm like, the Chiefs don't spend top dollar. But then on the other side, it's like it seems like they're overpaying for Jawan Taylor. So I don't know, man. I'm torn on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and with Juwan Taylor, it's obviously like the whole like recency bias, right? And that's kind of what the free agency is. It's either recency bias because you had a really good year last year, or it's kind of like, hey, we need a Sam Darnold to be a veteran backup. You know what I mean? It's like one or the other.
Yeah.
But yes, Orlando Brown Jr. not signed by the Chiefs, and what I'm seeing here is that he was basically Juwan Taylor was signed to replace Orlando Brown Jr. So.
Oof.
Yeah, that's a lot
Good
of money,
luck
though, like
with
you said.
that.
Yeah. And now for the Giants, we'll give some love to our biggest Giants fan who listens in, Bill.
Bill?
Bill, hope you're listening. Yeah. The Giants are signing Indianapolis Colts inside linebacker Bobby Okereke to
Okereke.
Okereke, okay, to a 4-year,
I don't
$40
know.
million deal. Kyle's just bullshitting. He's like, it's actually pronounced. I'm like, you motherfucker.
It does seem that way, you know.
It does. No,
like
it's
that.
yeah. If you ever have if you ever struggle with pronouncing a name, just pronounce it like it's actually pronounced. Blah 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 blah. You know, you just try to sound fancy with it. And you'll be fine.
Instead of like say You know, so it's like if it's like Freedom, you would just go, no, it's actually Freetam. Yeah. Like, oh wow, that's cool.
CP goes, let's just call him Bobby O. I like that.
I like that.
Bobby O, yeah.
Bobby O.
So the Giants signed Bobby O to a 4-year, $40 million deal. And I think the Giants were in pursuit of Tremaine Edmonds that the Bears got, but Giants just don't have the money to pay him what he wanted. So they were able to do a Bobby O. And Bobby O actually had a pretty good season last year. We were hoping to bring him back with Matty Eberflus, but obviously he's with the Giants now. The Giants are bolstering the defense, trying to get better on that side of the ball. And we're going to talk about the Giants a little bit later as well for what they did last week. But I think another good signing for the Giants, doesn't break the bank, and a productive guy.
Yeah, definitely productive dude, not breaking the bank. You already signed Daniel Jones to an amount that may or may not have been way too much money. So I feel like they just kind of got to mind their P's and Q's here and not do anything. It's gonna be like, are they drunk? You know what I mean? Like,
what the fuck are they doing? But all right, that was pretty much all the free agency signings that were pretty important. One last thing I will say, because it did come out today, the Baltimore Ravens have released 6-time Pro Bowl defensive end Calais Campbell. 6-time Pro Bowl defensive end. And we talked about it earlier. The defensive end is a position that is prime. It is a prime position. People are going to pay a lot of money. So Calais Campbell, watch out for him in the coming days. If he hasn't signed already, which I'm not getting any updates yet, so we'll see. But
he went to high school in Denver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I'm trying to see. He was drafted to the. It says he was drafted to the Cardinals, but I only remembered him at Jacksonville. But he was drafted to the Cardinals.
Oh.
He went to Miami. So
really?
Yeah, round 2. Calais Campbell has been to the Cardinals, the Jaguars, and the Ravens. He's been in the league since 2008. And look, we talked about this just last week. He's 36 years old. He could get some kind of DeMarcus Ware type love. 2 years for, $25 million maybe, but he's asking for some more money. That 36 years old,
And I think that was a move to clear some salary cap as well, for the Ravens. So, that's kind of where they're at right now. They cut a 6-time Pro Bowler, but like you said, 36 years old. He's probably just trying to get a couple mil here, a couple mil there for a couple.
Up.
Yeah, set the fam up and just kind of gracefully exit. But that was the free agent extravaganza, like you see here on the screen. Big day. Monday was huge. Like I said, I walked to my phone and I just see all these breaking news. This person signed, this person signed.
Christmas.
So it was insane.
There's big boxes. There's the small ones. There's, you know what I mean? The one that's hiding behind the curtain at the very end.
And then the really, really big ones. But before we move on, we're going to take a quick little break here to give you guys a nice little preview of the main event a UFC, boxing, wrestling show that we have here on Star 6 Media. So Kyle, let's play the video.
Hell yeah.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the main event of the evening. Alongside my brother from the same mother, Enrique Contreras, I'm Jose Contreras, and we are here to bring you guys all the latest and greatest topics in combat sports.
That's right, Jose. We're going to talk WWE, AEW, UFC, boxing, all of mixed martial arts. We'll even get into the backstage stuff, all the controversy. Just make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 9 p.m.
And like I said, we'll be here, guys, next week. Rick, we'll see you, man.
All right, there you go. Make sure to go check out the main event on Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Kyle, one of the biggest news for me last week, the Bears traded the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. And yeah, we got a little something. I think we got a little something good. Tell me what you think about this return. Bears traded the number 1 pick to the Panthers in exchange for the number 9 pick, a number 61 pick, which is a late second round, a 2024 first round selection, a 2025 second round pick, and who is that? Who's that? Wide receiver DJ fucking Moore. DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's a good
DJ
haul.
Moore.
It's a good haul. DJ Moore is really good.
DJ Moore is a legit number 1 wide receiver for the Bears for Justin Fields. Finally, this guy, I saw the stats. I'm sure you've seen the tweets and stuff. His 5,000 plus whatever yards in his career would be like 3rd all time on the Bears or all time on the Bears.
That's
history.
Crazy. That's because you haven't had a good quarterback.
That's exactly why. Or wide receivers. I mean, we've had some good wide receivers, but no like DJ Moore types, right? And we take on his 3-year, $50 million plus contract through the 2025
I was just
season.
about to say.
Oh, sorry. So, we got him for another 3 years. 21 touchdowns, 52 career receiving yards, 2018 all-rookie team, led the league in receiving yards in 2019, had 7 touchdowns last year with the worst quarterbacks that you could put together in Carolina. So I love this move so much because it gives the Bears a true, legit number 1 wide receiver. And a lot of people were giving me shit in the shorts and the TikToks that I was making because I was like, DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Claypool, Cole Kmet, Khalil Herbert, and they're like, everyone that wasn't DJ Moore sucks. And yes, maybe that's true. We don't know what's going to happen next year, but
their names.
Their names. They were doing okay last season, so
yeah.
Obviously, I'm excited. But Kyle, what did you think of the move?
Well, also DJ Moore was drafted in the 1st round out of Maryland, so you also got in a way another 1st round pick if you look at it like that.
Technically,
but
yeah.
I think in a way Carolina was a little mischievous with the way they did this, because if you look at DJ Moore's breakdown on 2022, he got almost $5 million, 4.875 for signing, but they only paid him $1 million. And then you see his base salary goes from $1 million to this year, $20 million.
Yeah.
So it's like they got
Clearing
to use him
cap
for like 1 year. And then when it became time to pay him, they found him a new home. So I think if you're like Carolina is rebuilding in a way. I mean, like they do have a good defense, but maybe that $20 million can allow them to go get, instead of just having a really nice DJ Moore, you could go get like 5 pieces that are good. So it makes sense for both people. And I love deals that work for both people. It's easy to say like, oh, the Bears like shafted, you know what I mean? They got a boatload. But at the same time, it's I see another side to it. And from a GM point perspective, I think this is just one of those where both teams are probably, I would say the Bears got more than obviously the Panthers did, but I don't think this is kind of the time for the Panthers to be I guess
picky.
doing things to make their fan base really happy. They gotta first do what the Bears did last year, right? That's where they're
Absolutely.
at. So they got to get rid of the expensive pieces, get some, less expensive pieces around. And the Bears, man, they got some draft picks. They moved down. Who cares if they don't get, what was it, Javon Walker or
Will Anderson.
Will Anderson? Not even close.
Yeah.
I was like, who cares though? I mean, Will Anderson isn't going to be picked first. He's not going to be picked second. He's probably not. Who's picking third? The Seahawks?
Cardinals, I believe.
The Cardinals aren't going to get him. So then the Seahawks pick fourth. They'll probably get him. But now look, you weren't ever going to get a quarterback. And now you're only, like 4 picks away from drafting. So you really only moved down 4 picks, in my opinion. You didn't move from 1 to 9. Or is it 1 to 9?
Yeah,
you moved from like 1 to 5.
Yeah, when you look at it that way, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in the players that you're going to draft. Now, one of those teams is going to draft somebody that you're not interested in. Maybe they're going to draft, I don't know, just a position that you don't feel needs to be addressed, like a really good edge rusher or a linebacker. Maybe it gets to the Bears and they have the best wide receiver on the board, the best running back on the board, the best cornerback on the board, and they have a chance to get an elite corner, wide receiver, or skill position. I think it would be a huge splash if the Bears went and got the number 1 wide receiver in the draft. Like, wouldn't that be a total? I mean, you're addressing all these other players defensively, right? You just brought in all those guys that we just talked about, and then you bring in DJ Moore. If you could get one more, like the best rookie available, you got to feel good about that. You got to feel good about that. Or even the running back out of Texas. Whew.
I don't know if I'd go running back number 9.
Come on, please.
No, I would much rather go either Jalen Carter if he's available or the best wide receiver, like you said, which I think is Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. And you're right? Like, we have DJ Moore for 3 years, 3 seasons. We have Darnell Mooney, I forget how many more years, maybe 2. And we have Chase Claypool for 1 more. We still don't really know what Velus Jones Jr. is because he's only had his rookie year. But if you get a rookie, the number 1 rookie wide receiver in the draft, like you're saying, imagine if he plays his rookie year, does really well, Jamar Chase type, right? Like type of season, then you don't have to re-sign Chase Claypool because you only have him for 1 more year. Darnell Mooney maybe becomes the deep threat or the slot, guy, slot receiver. Now you have DJ Moore, a certified number 1, and a possibly certified number 1 receiver as your number 2. So I like that thinking, but also Jalen Carter can possibly fall down to 9 to the Bears. I've seen a lot of mock drafts, but I've seen a lot of trades in those mock drafts, people trading up, trying to get this, trying to get that.
Yeah, character stuff that just came up.
Exactly. And depending on what happens with that and, the NFL and teams, Ryan Poles, the Bears are going to be on his ass. Like, bro, you're not going anywhere near a fucking souped up car for the rest of your career here. So depending on all those characteristics.
You can't really they're adults. Like, you can't put them on house arrest.
Yeah, I will.
If you even go near a dealership, you're gone.
We got you a private Uber. That's what you're getting. And it's a Mustang, so you'll be fine. But if he drops to number 9 and the number 1 wide receiver there, I don't know, man. I think I would want a rookie defensive end or defensive tackle that will cause absolute mayhem on the defensive end. Or on the defensive side of the ball. So there's a lot of options that the Bears could do here. They could trade even more if they wanted to. They could trade up.
Right tackle.
Yeah, probably right tackle or left tackle. I forget which tackle. Oh, no, Braxton Jones is left tackle. So they would need a right tackle.
They need a right tackle. So, I mean, you're in a perfect position to probably get the best right tackle in the entire draft. And I think, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the best one is like the guy from Northwestern, Skoronski.
It's always the guy from Northwestern.
Yeah, it's always from one of those schools, right? Like that or Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska
or Wisconsin. Always have the best linemen.
Michigan. But
So there's
Quentin Johnson out of TCU is most people's number one.
I heard he's good.
They're like, yeah, he's a total X factor because he's got the, let's see, I think they got his height and weight on here. He's 6'4", 215. That's perfect. So that means that you can get those 50-50 balls. He's got an 11-foot broad jump and a 42-inch vertical. That's really good. And yeah, 4.4 40-yard dash. So you can also throw him in the slot. This is a dude that if he was available, dude, people would be like, dude, Justin Fields. Now, this is interesting because last year, Justin Fields had it was like Justin Fields exceeded all the expectations. He was like the only bright spot on the Bears.
Yeah.
And what happens is once you load the talent, now the expectations are going to also be higher for Justin Fields. It's like you aren't supposed to run first if you have time. But maybe last year, you know what I mean? It's almost like he's so used to it, like muscle memory. It's just like, I've been in the pocket for 2 seconds. I'm supposed to run. And it's like, maybe he has time or an open receiver. It'll be really interesting. It's like one of my top storylines to follow this year is how Justin Fields kind of responds to the better environment he's going to be a product in. Some people thrive when, you know what I mean? They are the only thing on the team and they got nothing to lose. And some people don't handle that kind of pressure well. Is that something you're worried about at all with Fields?
That is the biggest that is the biggest thing I'm worried about, is that he has so many weapons around him that the expectation is for him to elevate his passing game. But if next year it's not there, Ryan Poles is going to be like, bro, I got you DJ Moore. A lot of these other guys are healthy. I've got you upgrades at the offensive line. Our defense is somewhat subpar. Like you gotta give me something, right? And that is what I think me, along with all other Bears fans, are afraid of, is that he doesn't take that jump. He doesn't elevate his passing game, and he's a very run first quarterback, because at that point you just have, I don't know, you have Lamar Jackson without the arm, pretty much, like a run first guy.
Lamar can pass in his own right.
Yeah,
I would say, but yeah, it's like, look, if you could buy all the ingredients, but if he doesn't like to cook, you're just going to have a lot of ingredients.
That's what I mean.
And it's like, it's time to see if he can cook. And I really think, it's something that I'm not totally sold on, but I do believe in Justin Fields, and I think he'll be okay. But I'm kind of like reserving my, like, that's why when I asked Bears fans if they would do the deal Lamar Jackson for Justin Fields and they said no, I found it a little surprising, because Lamar has won shootouts and he has succeeded as a passer with, not I would say not a better receiving core than the Bears have right now. So I feel like, there's a chance that Justin Fields has a higher ceiling, but I think there's a bigger chance, just statistically, that Lamar Jackson has, I mean, you're talking about an MVP that, he has declined. The stock right now is way higher on Justin Fields, but if you take a step back and you're not a victim of the moment, Lamar Jackson seems safer long term.
For sure. And Steve's saying somewhat the same thing. He says it's hard to get running quarterbacks to learn to read defenses and stop running the ball on first instinct. That's why they take so long to develop. And that kind of leads us into our next one, which I'm going to take a quick break here if you want to talk about Lamar Jackson getting tagged the non-exclusive way.
Yeah. So Lamar Jackson tagged the non-exclusive way, which if you guys have been following, we kind of talked about it, which means that teams can reach out to Lamar Jackson. And I think that this is something Baltimore did on purpose, because Lamar Jackson wants, we don't know the number, but we do know similar contracts that have been offered to him that he's declined, right? So I do think that this is something that the ownership of Baltimore is saying, look, it's not like a Baltimore thing. This is a nation or a league-wide thing. Like, these other guys aren't going to pay you what you're asking for. So maybe I think that the non-exclusive tag is an opportunity for there to be no animosity with the Ravens specifically. Now, when it comes to Jackson as a player, I just mentioned it. His stock has gone a little bit down. And a part of that is because, he hasn't been hit like himself whether it's injuries or performance. He's had good games and good moments, but I don't think holding out and not playing in that playoff game served him, especially when you saw Tyler Huntley got really close to beating the Bengals in that playoff game. I do think a lot of people probably saw that and thought if Lamar Jackson was playing in that game, we could have won, but he doesn't have his money, so he doesn't want to play. Whether you're a person that thinks players should, get their money, or you're more of a team guy, because sometimes they are conflicting. Lamar Jackson did, I believe, have the ability to probably play in that playoff game and refused to because he wasn't being paid. And I'm not sure if that's something. I mean, I know people will get over it quick because if there's one thing we've learned from the quarterback in Cleveland is that people just move on, apparently. And that would definitely include a way lesser of a crime in Lamar Jackson holding out. But I do think this is an opportunity for the ownership to show Lamar personally, you are not, we don't have anything against you. None of the other 31 teams are going to do what you're asking for. You know what I mean? It's it's such a parent move to do where it's like, oh, you think it's just because we're bad parents?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go ask any of your friends' parents if they would let you go do that thing with that person. Ask any of your friends' parents. And then when you hear it from them, you're like, oh, okay, my parents aren't bad parents. They're, just like everyone else. So this is Lamar's, time to learn that, all of his friends' parents wouldn't sign him to the absurd amount of money that he's asking for. He's just not very reliable at this moment in time.
At this particular moment in time.
I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
Little Stephen A for you guys. And Steve agrees. I think it was the best decision. I think it was the best decision the Ravens could make. I agree with what Steve said because what the non-exclusive does, and I was away for a little bit there, so I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but it's able to not only let Lamar talk to other teams or other teams talk to Lamar, but it sets the market for Lamar, whether he wants to or not, right? Like if he's saying, I want 230 guaranteed, like Deshaun Watson, well, if the Ravens just, gave you the non-exclusive tag for whatever money it is that they gave you the tag for, and a team doesn't get anywhere near 230 like you want, that's what you get, man. Like that's the market telling you this is what you're worth. And the Ravens can just be like, we're going to match it. And if they go a little higher, the Ravens can be like, well, we're going to match it. That's kind of the give and take you get with that. Like you said, it's not necessarily that the Ravens are saying you suck to us. They're saying we're just right now. Your stock is super low. Your stock isn't $230 million guaranteed high, right? Like, and we're just gonna let you figure that out by yourself. Coupled with the fact that he is negotiating himself. Now, look, Roquan Smith was able to get paid by the same team, right? By the Ravens. He was able to get paid, and he, negotiated his own contract himself.
I don't think they're connected, though.
Well, what I will say is the only connection they have is they both negotiated. Now, you're right. The positions are very different. What Roquan Smith wanted was less than half of what Lamar wants. But it does give Lamar some sort of like hope almost to be like, if he can get it done, I can get it done. Like all this talk about agents, blah, blah, blah. But what I heard on another podcast was this might be a thing where agents are like, we're going to blacklist you, man. You don't think we're important? Okay, go try and get your money without an agent because we want, right? Like there's a reason our position is a job. There's a reason why we exist. And this is one of the reasons why. So it can either like elevate Lamar into showing a lot of people that, hey, the players have the power themselves, or it could just be like, bro, you should have gotten an agent because now you're being paid $150 million over the next 3 years instead of your 230 that you wanted in the 5-year range, or 240 or 250, whatever you wanted. So it could be good and bad depending on what happens, obviously, in the end. But I don't know, man. It wasn't the best move for Lamar, and look who it is, our boy KC Our boy Casey, we haven't seen you in a while in the chat. Cheers.
What's up, Casey?
He's saying, I think his statement about not being 100% so I can't play didn't help the Ravens or his career, especially in a playoff game. Just like you said, Kyle. Yep.
I think also this is just something about life where, mo money, mo problems. You know what I mean? Like that's how Biggie said it. So if it's just part of the deal. One of my favorite artists is Chance the Rapper, and he wanted to not have a record deal. That was his big thing, is that record deal, they rob the people. And he's totally right. Yep. You know what I mean? Especially stand-up comedians and things like that. You see how much money they make off their specials. And it's like, I think one of them used Michael Jackson as a reference. They were like, he sold this many, guess how much money he made? It was like pennies compared to the amount of money that the revenue he was bringing in. Because you got to pay all these people. And I understand not wanting to do it. But at the same time, Chance the Rapper can release music. And I, even as a fan, if I don't go to YouTube and search his name, I don't know anything about it. I don't know what he's doing. It's like he's not. That's what those agents do. They keep you relevant. They keep your stock high. They keep you feeling like if you're not doing something with this person, you're missing out. Yeah. And it's easy to just think, well, I'll just let, my songs or my comedy or my playing on the NFL, I'll let that do the talking. But the reality is all those other guys that are playing really well have those guys. So you need one. And it sucks. I mean, it's just one of those things that you just kind of have to bite the bullet on it. And also, Cleveland does not set the standard of the NFL. Can we just go ahead and say that? Back to my parent reference, it was like, if I had a friend who was like allowed to, swear inside and smoke pot in the basement, I wouldn't like go up to my parents and be like, hey, Alex is smoking pot and cussing. So I was wondering if I could start doing that too. You know what I mean? Because I understand that Alex's home is not the gold standard for how
bullshit. That sounds like he's having a great time.
That's the green standard. So I just think a little bit, Lamar needs to understand that the deal that Cleveland did with Deshaun, it was a lot of things. And just one of those things it was not the gold standard. And I just think Lamar can't get past that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And another good thing that comes up in this conversation, and Steve outlines it here, is like the issue is his mom. I wouldn't necessarily say the issue is his mom, but definitely a factor, right? We all know Mama's view. We all know mamas view us as the best in the world at what we do and want us to be paid as such. Not a good idea having your mom or dad as your agent at this kind of level.
Yep.
I definitely agree with that last statement. Not a good idea to have them. No, there's no way you have your parents, because like Steve said, that's a great thing to say, right? They think you're the top of the top. Sometimes that's not necessarily the case, especially after a season where you were injured again. You're a former MVP, and, no one's ever going to take that away from you. No one's ever going to take away your accolades or how you've played in the past. But this, what did we say earlier? This is a what have you done for me lately type of league. We're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you for 2019. We're going to pay you for 2022. So what have you done for us, right?
And Biggie also said, since we're on the Notorious B.I.G., he also said in the 10 Crack Commandments, keep the family and the business completely separated, right? Ooh. That is the one of the oldest rules in the book is don't do business with family. Keep your business extravagance with other people, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's super messy. I couldn't imagine, because then it's like, even if you want to do something, you feel like, okay, is my mom gonna think I'm settling? Like, you don't need to answer to anybody else when you're an adult. That's the cool thing about being an adult. And I feel like Lamar's put himself in a situation where, he doesn't want to let her down. And it's just like, this is just you, man. If you really don't want an agent, you need to just figure out what it is you want. No one else. Exactly. Not your friends, not your cousins that are pretending they grew up with you now. Like, nobody.
Yeah. Let's move on, because yes, it's we're gonna obviously keep tabs on that, because he's either gonna refuse to play on the tag as well. He can do that. He can refuse to play on the tag, or try to go to another team, get a lot of money. We'll see what it is. But let's move on now to some more signings, extensions, and trades. And we'll start off with one of the bigger trades that happened last week. Jalen Ramsey was traded to the Dolphins for a 2023 third-round pick, which is number 77 overall, and tight end Hunter Long. Ramsey actually tweeted, I prayed for this specifically for about a month, and now it's happening at Miami Dolphins. Let's go. And he joins Xavier Howard, another all-pro defensive back there in the secondary with Miami. And the Rams, they're just trying to get some money back, right? Like, because they're trading Ramsey before June 1st, they're still going to take about $20 million of dead money on their cap, but they save about $6 million. So this is really more about the Rams, one, getting a little bit of I guess, pressure taken off the cap, and two, get some picks, because we know their philosophy before when they won the Super Bowl, but now they need some of that draft capital back. So what do you think about the Dolphins secondary? Like, they have Tua, they've got the weapons, they got Waddle, they've got Tyreek Hill. Now they just added another all-pro cornerback to their defense. Does this make the Dolphins kind of like, it looks like they're trying to go for that AFC East title?
Yeah, it makes the Dolphins look like the number one team that kids will play Madden with. I'm going to play with the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill, Tua.
I love Tua.
Who's the other really fast guy they got?
Waddle.
Jalen Waddle.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, you had Bradley Chubb last year late in the season. Now you're adding Jalen Ramsey. What is my concern? It's like, okay, you are all in though, right? Like, yes. At some point, it's almost inevitable that they're going to end up like the Rams have ended up this year and last year. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder how long they're going to be able to keep this train moving with these signings. Like, I didn't even think, I don't know the salary cap numbers for every team. It would be weird if I did. I probably, would be working for the NFL, but I didn't think off the top of my head that Miami had the money for this. And I know they're on the hook this year with Jalen Ramsey, because the Rams paid for that part. So this is something that they'll have to address at the end of this year, which is something I included in the short when I found out he was going to be traded. And I think Miami might be looking to part ways with some people at the end of this year. But you bet your ass that they are literally doing this because they feel like they have a window to win the Super Bowl this year. And that's it. It's Super Bowl or bust. With this roster, imagine if Tom Brady was the quarterback. They would win the Super Bowl. Oh, my God.
I mean, yeah, and with Mike McDaniel, your coach, like,
you think Tom's coming out?
No way. He got a kitten for his daughter. There's no way. His hands are literally full with that kitten.
If he was gonna troll us though, that would be the story. You know what I mean?
That would be the story. He's like, I'm coming back. He'd do that MJ press release for immediate release. I'm back. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Tom. I think he's gonna start like a podcast or do something crazy. So we're gonna have a lot more competition in the podcast world. But moving on, Darren Payne and the Commanders have agreed on a deal. We were just talking last episode that Darren Payne was tagged by the Commanders. They quickly got to a deal on a 4-year, $90 million deal, includes $60 million guaranteed. That is the second highest paid defensive tackle behind Aaron Donald. And if you caught our episode last week, we went over his career highs in sacks, 11.5 last year, and tackles for loss at 21. He was third in sacks and second in tackles for loss among defensive tackles. So he set the market pretty much, right? Like Aaron Donald actually did it, but Darren Payne for this year and what goes on, in the future, setting the market for that defensive tackle market. And I think the Washington Commanders did the right thing. I was really hoping that they weren't going to tag him and the Bears were going to make a move for him, because why not? The Bears have like endless money. But they tagged him and then they bagged him. So
Yeah.
what do you think about this for the Washington Commanders, who go into next year kind of, they don't have a quarterback. They've got a solid defense.
Heineke.
Yeah, no, I think Heineke's a free agent actually, technically.
Oh, he's coming back. He's coming back.
At least at least Commanders fans know that their defense is going to be pretty fucking sick next year.
Did you hear that they like turned down Jeff Bezos's ability to inquire about the Commanders?
Yeah,
It was like
Dan Snyder,
they got mad
Dan Snyder's
about
such a
it.
troll.
Yeah. So, oh God, yeah. So I think we talked about these tiers. I feel like the Commanders are in a weird one where it's like the one good thing they have is their defense, and you don't really want to let that go. But at the same time, they got Terry McLaurin, and he's pretty good.
Yep.
You have Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. Those are good pieces, and I just don't think they want to go into this, hey, let's let these guys walk away when they feel like they have something they can build off of. The problem is, until they get a quarterback, none of it really matters, especially in the division that they're in. They're in what is now a tough division for a long time, NFC least. This year, you had the Giants win a playoff game. You had the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, and you had the Cowboys go to the NFC Championship game. So this is, or no, division against the 49ers. So this is a good division, and the weak link is the Commanders. And I like, Payne. I like any strong last name. Like the Broncos got Powers. I like that stuff.
Powers.
You got to sign those guys, man. You really
Hargrave.
do. But
he's got the word grave in his name. Like, how could you not sign that guy?
Hargrave, Payne, Powers. But yeah, I don't know. I feel
clinch.
like yeah. Me too. So I don't know. The quarterback thing to me is really important, and I think I speak for every Commanders fan where I think they would rather not have Payne and have an answer at quarterback. So they're drafting for sure, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they're, because they were almost, they were close to a playoff spot last year, so they're middle of the pack picking. You know what I mean? Like, unless they are going to do some sort of trade on draft day where they give up an asset, maybe like a Gibson, maybe like a Scary Terry. I don't know, man. They have options, but they're definitely a team that needs a quarterback right now.
16th overall.
Yeah, see, that's like the middle of the pack right there, and
that's the sweet spot of suck.
Yeah, then that's the Dolphins don't have a pick in the first round because it was taken away.
Yeah, it's like you're not bad enough to get one of the best quarterbacks, but you're not good enough, to have a quarterback. So you just like every
to have
year
hope for the next year. That's what it is.
Yeah, you're just like another 8-8 in 1 year because there's got to be a tie when you're that middle of the pack.
Yeah. And Steve's saying, I think you hang on to Heineke as your starter this season and build around him. Worry about the QB next season as a key fix if Heineke plays poor, that is. And that's true, because next year's draft, and I think Eric mentioned that when we started the episode, next year's draft for QBs is supposed to be pretty damn good. So a lot of these teams aren't necessarily going to spend the second or third round pick
Caleb Williams.
Yeah, from USC. They're not going to spend like a second or third round pick on a Max Duggan or somebody who hasn't really proven themselves. They might get them like 6th, 7th, 8th round or whatever, but they're not going to waste a second or third round on an unproven quarterback.
Here's what I'm thinking: Trey Lance.
Oh,
yeah.
They take a shot at Trey.
I think if Brock Purdy is healthy and has the surgery fully recovered and is clearly, I would say it would be like an undercover quarterback competition. I don't think it would be public, but I think they, Kyle McDaniels would be, Kyle Shanahan would be Kyle McDaniels and
Kyle McDaniel Eberflus.
Yeah, I think he would be keeping a close eye on them, and if I expect Brock Purdy after the year he had to keep that job. and I expect Trey Lance to be too valuable to back up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still, at this point, because he hasn't really played, he has the advantage of the unknown. If he would have played the whole year and got hurt in week 10 and not Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Then if
Yeah.
he didn't have a good year and been like, oh, we kind of know that he's not it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he got hurt week 2 week 2, right? Week
2
2.
or 3.
Because
Very
the Broncos
early on, yeah.
played week 3 and Jimmy Garoppolo started. So
Yeah.
he got hurt week 2. The unknown over Trey Lance just remains. He was a very high pick. They gave up a lot to get him. They're going to want a lot for him because they gave up a lot to get him.
Mm-hmm.
So the Commanders, why not?
Why not? That's a very interesting take. I would have never even thought of that. So good take by Kyle. Let's move on to Bills Giants one more time. They signed Jones, Daniel Jones. They finally seal up Daniel Jones. Everybody wanted Daniel Jones, but the Giants said, no, we got him.
Everybody wanted. I don't know if everybody wanted him. No, everybody wanted him. Shut up.
They gave him a $160 million deal, 82 of that guaranteed. I think it's 4 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 4 years, 160, which if you divide it, is $40 million a year.
But I think so. It says up to 35 million of those are in incentives. So they didn't necessarily give him what he wanted, but they're like, hey, if you're this quarterback that you and your agent say you are, then put yourself to the test.
What if those incentives are just to go to the playoffs? Like he could do that. You know what I mean? He did that last year. Is he
like,
worth 40 million?
Easy.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
I mentioned it. I just think if he wasn't good enough to sign a 7-year deal, then he's not good enough to make 40 million a year. But the thing is they couldn't tag him because they tagged Saquon Barkley.
Exactly.
So that's my only thing. Because I was talking to Bill about it, and he was like, "Well, we tagged Barkley," and I'm like, "Look, if he was really that dude, he would be signing a 6-year, $260 million deal." Because when you got one, you don't have to question it. You don't have to think about it. You think Joe Burrow is waking up in the middle of the night wondering if he's going to be the highest paid quarterback? No, he knows that.
He's going to be, yeah.
And he doesn't have to force the issue because he's not going anywhere,
Exactly. 100% agree. And I think he's like 25 right now. So like you said, like you would absolutely sign a 25-year-old phenom quarterback to a like how you said, a 7-year deal, $40 million. Like, yeah, let's fucking do it. But you mentioned Barkley getting tagged, non-exclusive franchise tag. He'll make a little under $10.1 million in 2023. He came back last year. First time since his rookie year that he actually played a full season. 1,300 rush yards. He had 10 touchdowns, 32 rushes of 10 or more yards. 1,600 plus yards from scrimmage, and he was the comeback player of the year for the AP. So, like you said, you had to. The Giants really had to be like, if we can't sign Daniel Jones, we're gonna tag him, and we're gonna let go of Saquon, right? Like we're gonna have to get rid of him because we can't afford both. But they were able to sign Jones and get Saquon. What do you think? It kind of goes back to our conversation that we had about Austin Eckler. Like, was this the move for Saquon Barkley to tag him?
Yeah, I think so. Part of me feels like you're delaying something, but you do have the option to tag him, so why not use it? It's like, even if you're delaying it, it's worth it because you get a really good player for another year. But at the end of this year, do I expect them to pay him a lot of money? Maybe. But if the Giants don't perform very well, they're going to feel like they should use that money in different places, right? So I think this is kind of a 1 year, not prove it for Saquon Barkley, but prove that that team can stay together as they are right now and contend for a Super Bowl. I'd say a lot of the pressure on Saquon Barkley's future rests on the shoulders of Daniel Jones. I really do. Depending on how it all works out together, they're like, look, you want to keep the band together, we'll do it for a year. But if
Yeah.
at the end of this year there's not a platinum album, we're gonna have to get rid of the drummer. So we'll
God,
see.
I love it.
There is one more signing that we didn't mention that I thought
Ooh,
was
what
a
is it?
really sneaky good one. Patrick Peterson to the Steelers.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, Patrick Peterson was so good in Arizona. He was like the best corner in the league for a couple years, but then he got that suspension for performance enhancing drugs, and I think he had a 10-game suspension, something like that. And then he played the rest of that season, and then he didn't really get a big deal after that. And it was kind of like, okay, I get the suspension, but nobody's interested now. Then the Vikings took a chance on him. He did really good. Then they signed him to another, I think, 1-year deal after 2 years. And then last year, he was the best corner on the team.
Yep.
So he's aging like a fine wine. He's playing like the best cornerbacks play great late. Champ Bailey wasn't bad until his very last year. Aqib Talib was, good all the way to the end. Ty Law, these are like your good cornerbacks can play a long time. And Patrick Peterson's no exception. The Steelers had a hole at cornerback. You know who else does? It's the Patriots. And what have they done this offseason?
And McCourty, I know he's a safety, right? McCourty,
Devin McCourty.
Yeah, whoever it is, he just retired. So that just takes another hit for your secondary. So
yeah, when I interviewed Rusty, I said they should get Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, right? Why not? And I remember you talking about Peterson too, like how you said, like he had that 1-year prove it deal. He proved it. He was in the Cardinals. So yeah, another good signing by the Steelers. The last bit of information I want to go over, and I think it's got us all in a bind. We're just hanging on what's going to happen. Aaron Rodgers has still not said a fucking word, but
I love it.
The Jets and the Packers have basically got a deal ready. They are just waiting on Aaron Rodgers to say, I want to get traded or I retire. That's what all the sources that I have, and that's Twitter, that are saying to me, not to me personally, but to Twitter. So that's what I've been hearing is the Jets have a deal in place. And the Jets and the Packers are just waiting on Aaron Rodgers. So, Kyle, do you think Rodgers to the Jets is pretty damn inevitable, I guess I would say?
Yeah, because I think at this point, it's kind of I think when you get to a point where the trade is pretty much done on both sides, it's weird to come back because you've already allowed some time for Jets fans to anticipate your arrival, and then also Packer fans to mourn that you're leaving. And I also think it's funny that because it's like if the media is going to do stuff like say that you left after 2 days in the dark room and all the other shit that they do because he's a private person, so they have to create stories because there isn't one. The only way you can really get back at them is to be like this, He goes, I'll have a decision soon enough. And then like 3 weeks later, he's like, I'm getting close.
That was funny too.
It's
Cause
like
it was like
comedic at this point. It's
he was talking to Brandon Marshall and I don't know, this was like a video or like a clip from his podcast or something, but he said, stay tuned. It won't be long. Like, dude, give us something for Christ's sakes.
You'll know tomorrow. You'll know tomorrow around noon Central Time. He'll tell you on the Pat McAfee show. I guarantee it. So
100%.
Tomorrow around. I smell something burning.
Oh, is it the tree?
But when you really smell something burning, it's scary. Oh, my neighbor might be smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, Steve kind of agrees here. It's pretty much Jets or he retires. I think Packers are set to start Love next season, and I wouldn't disagree, Steve. I think he just follows in Brett Favre's footsteps. He does 2 seasons.
I don't think he's retiring.
He does 1 season with the Jets, and then he goes back to the Vikings for 2 years.
It wouldn't be that close.
Loses in the NFC Championship game again.
Throws a pick at the very end.
Casey said, I think Rodgers stayed a little too long in the dark. Now, what I will give credit to Rodgers for, right? And I will 100% say, I give him shit all the time for being this way with the media. Oh, I don't know if I want to play. Blah, blah, blah. The Packers, with a first-round pick, picked up Jordan Love. Not a wide receiver, which is something that has been said countless times over and over again, right? Like, they don't get him help. What did they do? Instead, they got Jordan Love, his replacement. And only then, after that happened, was Aaron Rodgers doing what he's been doing these last couple of years, being like, I don't know if I want to play. I might be traded. I don't know if I want to play for the Packers. Yeah. So to that, I will give him credit. When you see, and we saw Tannehill do that last offseason. When they drafted Malik Willis, he's like, I'm not going to be his fucking mentor or whatever. Like, I'll show him around. I'll do this and that. But I mean, from my knowledge, I'm still the starting quarterback. I'm not here to tell this kid, like, this is how you take my job, in a sense, right? So I got to give Aaron Rodgers credit there. He only did it. He didn't do that 2 years before they drafted Jordan Love. He did that basically after they drafted Jordan Love, instead of the Packers getting him a wide receiver or some more weapons.
Yeah, it's kind of a dick move when you really think about it, especially
That's
because
what the Packers do.
Yeah, and it was like at that time he just went back-to-back MVP the next 2 years. So to say that it was like time is kind of ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I also think just because you can say this person made a decision in this time frame means that you should be able to do it in the same amount of time. But I just think humans are complex, and everybody makes decisions at their own time. And some people need more time. You know what I mean? So I know my aunt and uncle, they dated for 9 years before my uncle proposed. And I know people that know after a year. You know what I mean? It's just people are different. People are different.
That's all it is.
I don't think retirement's on the table, though, because I think that would have happened already. I just think he's trying to, like, understand, can I see myself being a Jet? The city, the billboards, the town. What am I going to do with my home? Like, there's just so many things that go into play with these decisions, let alone deciding if you have it in you to give 100% another full season. Like we talked about Kyle Shanahan right after the press conference, like talking about the next year. It's like eventually you probably get to a year where it's like, I'm going to need a good amount of time to truly evaluate myself without any emotion if I'm going to be able to run this thing back.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree.
He probably knows right now, I would say.
I think he knew the minute he left that darkness retreat. And I said it myself. I said he's going to retire. I'm pretty sure I said that. I wanted to show this. I'm calling it now. He's going to retire.
You did.
What I would say, though, is if he did go to the Jets, his type of personality, because he's just a big personality, right? Like in the NFL, like, what more do you want in New York other than someone who can, one, handle the media, and two, is good at what he does? You know what I mean? Like, those two things just go hand in hand. But I don't
market.
Big, huge market. The biggest market there is.
Could be the biggest player in New York, but Kevin Durant in Brooklyn?
No, Kevin Durant left Brooklyn.
Oh. Where is he at?
Come on, Kyle. You got to tune into only basketball.
I wait until April.
That's kind of the fact, so you're not wrong. We'll see where that saga continues. We'll see if he gets retired. We'll see if he goes to the Jets.
Tomorrow.
I think tomorrow, yeah. But it looks like he's going to the Jets. We're just waiting on his word.
Jets. Jets. Dude, Natalie, this is so funny. What are you going to do about that?
I'm going to cry is what I'm going to do about it. Because not only is she rooting for the Jets, she's rooting for Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, which, to be fair,
your nightmare.
I mean, to be fair, I don't really care as long as Aaron Rodgers isn't on the Packers. That's really all I give a shit about. Yeah,
that's true. If like Mahomes went to like Buffalo, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's literally leaving your conference.
100%.
The Jets are the team to beat, though, right? In the division, if they get Rodgers?
Absolutely not. Let's move on. No, maybe. Actually, you're right. Maybe. Kyle, you're too busy on your OnlyFans account per Steve. So
What?
they are a quarterback away. They are a quarterback away. I think you talked about it on the Only Football with Kyle, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can make a strong argument. That team, you plug in Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett, OC, strong defense, best corner maybe with Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
a lot to love.
It'll be scary. Absolutely so. Hey, Bill, yes, you missed everything again, but we talked a lot about the Giants. So cheers, Bill. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. We did mention you. We actually called you out by name the couple times that we talked about the Giants. So
we did.
Once you rewind and play this episode from the beginning, you're going to be like, I'm glad they thought about me. But let's move on to our final little segment. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but OBJ worked out in Arizona State, I guess the University of Arizona, something like that. He worked out at their like little campus, whatever it was, for a few teams. And what does it say here? He worked out for scouts in Arizona. He has not played since he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, right, with the Rams. He eventually won that Super Bowl. But he's working out for Arizona in Arizona for some scouts. Did you know Beckham OBJ has not had a 1,000-yard season since 2019?
Yeah.
Is that not insane?
Well, he got hurt all of last season, and then the year before that, he came to the Rams in the middle of the year, right? Like week 10, because he was coming off another injury.
Yeah.
So it's getting to the point where it's like,
and he's 30.
He's 30, two ACLs back to back. I'm sure he's going to go to Kansas City or Buffalo.
So that's what I'm hearing is Kansas City. How would you feel if OBJ went to Kansas City?
I feel bad.
Kyle's just like, yeah, I'll feel bad. Why do you have to fucking say anything?
No, I honestly, we have a top 3 corner in the league. So I don't worry. The confidence having, a Patrick Surtain on your team is a pretty great feeling. Like there were Bronco fans talking about getting rid of him for assets. And I'm like, no, like never do that.
Why would you do that? Yeah.
We play Patrick Mahomes. We need a number 1 corner.
You need everything you've got against Patrick Mahomes. Absolutely. So it's interesting to see what will happen with OBJ. Like we said, he's 30 years old. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2019. And apparently Bill's saying he wants $20 million per year. I don't know if he's going to get that money off his 2021 performance. And like you said, multiple injuries in his career. It'll be a tough stretch for him, I think. So we'll keep tabs on that as well, and we'll kind of keep you guys updated. Anything else on OBJ, Kyle, before we hit the outro and get out of here?
Nope, that's all I got. I wish I had more.
Yeah, we'll get the chives there at the end, but thank you guys all for coming on. Bill came in late. Steve, KC, we had CP in the chat. We also had Eric in the chat as well. So thank all you guys for coming onto the live stream. We appreciate you guys. And if you want to support us, right there at the top left of your screen is a QR code, and we have the link in the chat to support us to get us to Super Bowl LV 111. Whatever that. Whatever that is.
Vision thing.
So get Kyle and I to the Super Bowl in Vegas. Help us out if you'd like to support us, so we can continue bringing you this awesome content. This 2-hour show of just straight only football. But Kyle, where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me at FTBLONLYPODCAST. Football only podcast. Like, share, follow,
subscribe,
all of it. I would say that, but that's not really a Twitter thing. I know enough now. I got a year under my belt. I'm not a noob.
Yeah, we'll see about that. You can follow me on Twitter at AndNowRick. Me and Bill are always going over stuff. He sees my tweets, he replies. I'm always replying. We have a good time on Twitter.
Me and Bill do have a good time too, just so you know.
No. He said he doesn't like you. Send me a DM. And follow Star 6 Media, Twitter @_Star6 Media. Keep you guys updated on everything that's going on in the NFL. Kyle's like, wait. Kyle sent Bill a DM. Did you really say that?
Is that true?
Steve saying, and you can all find me on the shitter. I don't know that app, but I hope it's going well. Other than that, follow us on Instagram @Star6 Media, as well as our YouTube. We are a quarter of the way to 1,000 followers on YouTube. So tell your friends about us. Tell your friends about Star6 Media to get us to 1,000 followers or 1,000 subs. We're trying to get to 1,000 on all of our platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What did I say? Facebook already? Twitch. All the ones you see down there in the ticker. But other than that, like I said, if you want to support us, hit that QR code or hit the link in the description, or I'm sorry, in the chat, and send us to the Super Bowl. Kyle, what are the chives? Give us the chives.
So not only do we have Only Football with Kyle and Rick Mondays, Only Football with Kyle on Wednesdays, we are adding the episodic series called 32.
Yes, Interview 32. Thank you for reminding me.
Interview 32, and that 32 represents every single team. So if you or somebody that would be interested, I will be dropping one in the next 4 days of interviewing Rick's favorite, the Green Bay Packers. Interviewing a Packers fan, and we are on a mission to interview every fan from every team. Now, not just anybody, right? Somebody that's really into it, somebody that bleeds those colors, somebody that knows everything. You're looking for the guy that knows the salary cap, those kind of weirdos. Like, we got to get those guys on here to talk ball. And I think by the end of it, as a football family, we will have a better understanding of the state of all 32. So definitely check out, wait, and watch that episodic series, Interview 32, coming soon.
Interview 32. We're gonna, like Kyle said, thank you for reminding me, Kyle. It's gonna be awesome. And like he said, if you know anybody, or if you want to come on and interview with Kyle and I about your team, we're trying to get all 32 teams. We're trying to get another Bears fan. We're trying to get another Broncos fan. It's gonna be a really, really good time. But all right, that is it from us. Again, thank you guys for hopping in the chat and being with us this entire time. Kyle, always a great time, brother. I'll see you next time.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.